Alright, hello Fish Explorer and YouTube. What I'm going to try to do is show you some basic rigging today for your soft plastics. Alright, so let's get right on into it, the drop shot rig. Okay, very easy to do. Tie a polymer knot, leave yourself a long tag end. Now on the tag end is where you're going to put the drop shot weight. Try to use the drop shot weight. It's got this little crimp in it that if you get stuck, you pull it out, you just lose the weight, you don't lose the whole rig. Worth the extra money. You get fewer in a bag than you do with like the bass casting sinkers, but they're well worth it. Alright, and now for baits for this, I really like to use these. I do not know who makes them. I've had them for well over 10 years. It's just two fat ends on a worm. They work amazingly well, have a lot of action since it's got two heavy ends. It wiggles a lot. It's perfect. Now for rigging styles with this, you can nose hook them, which gives them a lot of side-to-side action along with the up and down when you're moving it. It's really good. I need a bigger bait real quick, like the stick bait here. You can come in from here and push that point up to the top of the bait. Now what happens when you go to set the hook, it will pull the bait down and expose the hook. So you got to do a little harder of a hook set, but it does also keep it a little more weedless. It'll keep it from getting snagged on as much, and the presentation and the water will stay a little more vertical, so it won't have as much side-to-side action, but the vertical twitch, it will follow the line as you're twitching it. Okay, another thing you can also do is, if you notice they're a little more sluggish than usual, wacky rig. Cannot beat the wacky rig, whether without the weight on the drop shot or you're just throwing it weightless. When they're picky and you need that little finesse bait, do the wacky rig. Alright, so things I like to use on the wacky rig are, of course, little tiny jerks. I think this is like a 4-inch jerk. So it's a lot smaller than, say, the Super Fluke, which makes it perfect for a drop shot bait. Also, slug style baits, some hand poured purple paddle tails, amazing. Reapers are another good choice. And if you guys ever start losing the tails to your power worms and things like that with the ribbon tail, save them for drop shot baits. They work really well after you lose the tail. So that's the basic of the drop shotting. In another video, I'll show you how I work it, and that's my drop shot rod right here in the background. It's a 7-foot medium action with a 10-pound Power Pro with a mono leader. For the video, I did use a thicker line than I should have, just so you guys could see it better. Alright, so we'll move on to next the Carolina rig. Again, loaded it up with a heavier line than I needed, just so you guys could see it better. So this is going to be your main line with at least a 1/2 ounce sinker. At least. You want it to be in contact with the bottom constantly. Okay? The next important piece is the bead. This will protect your knot, so you'll have fewer break-offs. Okay? It doesn't matter if they're glass or plastic. I use plastic because I don't want the noise. I like it nice and quiet. Tie on your swivel, and then your leader. Okay? The leader I will use as short as a foot or as long as 6 feet. If I'm fishing deeper water, I go with a longer leader so it floats up higher and falls back down. It'll cover more of the range. If I'm fishing, say, 4 or 5 feet of water, I'll use a 1-foot leader. Now, as for your rigging with this, okay, we're going to use this Senko just real quick. You can regular Texas rig it. Remember to skin hook it, makes it nice and weedless. Or, since you are Carolina rigging it, instead of just putting it all the way at the front, if you notice you're getting a lot of short strikes, don't be afraid to thread more of the bait on there and push the hook back. You'll lose a little bit of the action at the front, But what you lose there, you may gain in catching a couple more fish that have been short striking your bait. Because now, if you look at it, I now have the hook closer to the middle to back end of it. So anything that was just chomping at it lightly at the tail will now get that hook. Alright, for Carolina rig baits, Senko's an awesome one. The same thing with the Super Fluke. A lot of people have luck using the Super Fluke. I really like using smaller worms like this guy here, the little zipper worm. It does amazing, and because of the body style, it actually pushes, quite a bit of water for being so small. It's a really good bait. Another good thing for the drop shot and the Carolina rig is, of course, the finesse worm. This is a Zoom finesse worm. Pretty much, I try to keep my baits for my Carolina rig smaller than most people would. Alright, so now we got that covered. Let's try to do some tubes. Okay? So, as you notice on this tube, I got the hook point closer to the center on my tube hook. Okay, and the point of that is it will wobble tighter and faster. Compared to this guy that's hooked at the front, he will have a wide, slow wobble when he comes down. Also, I have an alternative rig somewhere. Let me find them real quick. Where I pushed a bass casting sinker inside of the nose and use that. There we go. As an internal weight. So you can see right there in the video, I used a clear one so you guys can see it. There's the nose. When I went through to Texas rig it, I ran the hook right through there, and then always use an extra wide gap hook. Always. Because otherwise it won't squish down enough for you to get a good hook point into the fish. This guy is really awesome, really weedless. I really like this rigging style, and let's face it, everybody's got the bass casting sinkers in their tackle box. Nothing special needed. Alright. As you can tell, I like using a lot of the color green. And also, bunch of craw patterns. I love craws. I got some set up that are craw tubes. These are by Bay Lake. These set up on a 1/4 ounce. These are amazing lifelike baits. They work really well. I got them set up like this. I have them just regular old on a jig head. Trout guys, you might want to try this. Okay, just putting this guy or him, super salty junior craw, on a regular old jig head, and hopping around your local rivers and up in the shallows. They'll work amazingly well. Alright. While I also have you guys here, I'm going to show you guys a little bit about how I like to do my jigs with the trailers, because it's still considered soft plastic to me. Alright. So, we'll grab this guy here. Alright. Now when you grab your trailer, most people will just nose hook them like that. That's fine. That works rather well. What I like to do, however, is to grab him and I thread him on a little further. That way, if you notice, now he's got a smaller profile. This will help you with a lot of your short strikes. Now he's not just going to nip at the claws and try to pull your trailer off. He should come up and try to eat the whole head of the bait, which will put him to the hook. And of course, always match your skirt to your trailer for your best luck. See, I got that guy, I got him matched. There's my daughter right there, say hi. And I'll show you guys some more in my next video. I'm running out of time, and I will see you guys soon.